Good evening, Danuta, Holecka. Welcome to Wiadomości. When there's no dialogue, demons rise. The righteous amongst the nations call on Poland and Israel for dialogue. What matters most to us is the truth, and that's what we're striving for now. I was told that the prosecutors did not want any operational activities on it. The ABW was slow to investigate Amber Gold scandal. He revealed that the ABW was not allowed to investigate Marcin P. OLT scam. In all the countries we visit, we'll show our patriotism. The Dar Młodzieży just before the independence voyage to Latin America. I was happy to participate in the World Youth Days. The righteous amongst the nations call on Poland and Israel for dialogue and reconciliation. Today, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki met with the Poles who saved Jews during the Second World War. The Polish team for dialogue is ready to meet with the Israelis. The talks may be held soon. They are the testimony that not only the Polish underground state, but also ordinary Poles saved Jews during the war, risking their own lives. On behalf of the Polish government and all Poles, I would like to thank you very much for your great acts and for the memory you have preserved. 50 writers appealed to the governments of Poland and Israel. We call on our two nations, united by nearly 1,000 years of common history, to build a covenant and a future based on friendship, solidarity and truth in Poland, Europe, Israel and America. The writers call for sensitivity in creating law, responsible media narration and honest and independent historical research. The Polish government supports the appeal so that the most acceptable solutions can be worked out that are based on truth. The Polish-Israeli talks might mitigate the controversy around the amended act. It's quite likely that the meeting of Polish and Israeli representatives will take place in the near future. We are prepared to meet the Israeli side. We are looking forward for some signal. But Tel Aviv's response cannot be heard. Ronald Lauder, President of the World Jewish Congress, urges dialing back of rhetoric in Poland. He can't understand why Polish-Jewish relations have been put to the test after the amendment. So why on earth in 2018 should all this positive work be wasted by a law that wasn't necessary in the first place? The law that penalizes accusing Poles and Poland for shared responsibility for the Holocaust is based on the Israeli law. That's why Polish politicians appeal to Jewish communities to show pro-Polish sensitivity. And to understand that for us, the Second World War was also an event that had a tragic impact on the future of our country. But some people in Poland want to use the controversy over the Polish and Israeli narrative for political purposes. The debate on the March '68 events at Polin Museum focused on the criticism of Polish authorities and accusations of anti-Semitism. If you let this genie out of the bottle, it's very hard to control later on. And this is something that Gomułka learned about in 1968, and today Jarosław Kaczyński will learn about it. Perhaps 1/6 of the meeting was about the March events, and the rest was a story of an evil law and justice party. You could see Kijowski and Czapliński there, and you could hear that practically everything linked to the PIS is anti-Semitism. The narration about Polish anti-Semitism is opposed by Johnny Daniels, an American Jew living in Poland. I think that some 90% of what is called Polish anti-Semitism in the world has nothing to do with reality. So why is the Polish government fiercely attacked for defending the historical truth? The Polish diaspora in the US calls on the Polish government to respond to a law that has just been passed in the US, which supports international organizations involved in the restitution of Jewish assets. It's about the assets after the victims who did not survive the Holocaust, also in Poland. It's about 65 billion American dollars demanded from Poland by the Jewish community is about our to be or not to be. This law could be used as a form of pressure on Poland to return assets not only to individuals, but also to Jewish organizations acting on behalf of individuals. Unlike Poland, Israel has satisfied its World War II claims several times. Jan Korab, Wiadomości. The Holy Sepulchre Church in Jerusalem has been closed until further notice. Representatives of 3 Christian denominations administering the church wrote in a joint statement that the decision is a protest against the attempted limiting by the local authorities of their rights to manage church property in Jerusalem. In particular, plans to impose property tax gave rise to the protest. The mayor explains that the communities have debts towards the city. Tomasz Jędruchów from Jerusalem. Closed church doors in Jerusalem are a saddening thing, especially for thousands of pilgrims who come here from around the world. For many, it's the journey of a lifetime, so it is no surprise that most feel disappointed. We wanted to visit it, to see it, to enter, and it's impossible. This heart of ours is closed. By closing the church doors, the denominations protest against the attempted limiting by local authorities of their rights to manage church property in Jerusalem. The protest was raised especially by plans to impose property taxes on property other than places of worship or schools. The situation is very ugly. The church and the state are trying to deal with the tax problem while our tourists and pilgrims suffer. The Christian clergy administering the Holy Sepulchre Church won't speak before the camera so as not to escalate the already difficult relations with the mayor of Jerusalem. The church will be closed until further notice. Tomasz Jędruchów, Wiadomości, Jerusalem. Small entrepreneurs only have a few hours left to submit the single control file for the first time. Until 10 p.m., tax offices in Poland offer a phone line to help fill in the SCF. Damian Diaz. In this Poznań bistro, they are much better at cooking than preparing electronic sales records. I'll have to hire an accountant to do it for me, or I'll have to install some software and pore over it on my own. And I have no time for that, of course. Until 10 p.m., small entrepreneurs like Jolanta may use the tax office helpline. And although the smallest companies have this new obligation now, the finance minister believes that ultimately the SCF will benefit all. Soon the SCF will eliminate VAT returns, and the database of all transactions will help reduce the number of inspections and shift the focus onto tax fraud. Just last week, a case of VAT fraud was exposed, where using fictitious sales of coffee and sweets, the fraudsters tried to swindle the state budget out of over 250 million zlotys. Only 4 hours remain until the deadline for sending the SCF, but it seems that most entrepreneurs will do it on time. We've already received over 1.5 million SCFs of these documents that have been submitted by the business people, and it's going on very smoothly. This means that the number of those who are late won't exceed a few percent, which is much less than in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, where every 5th small business failed to meet the deadline. Larger Polish companies have been submitting SCFs for a long time now, but they can do better at meeting their obligations towards their employees. That's why the Solidarity Unionists have awarded the 27 best employers. You are a role model for employers who exceed the standards. You treat employees like human beings rather than a commodity. The Employee-Friendly Employer certificate was given by the President, who assumed honorary patronage over the event. The tradition was initiated 10 years ago by President Lech Kaczyński. Andrzej Duda noted that the United Right camp has improved the situation of employees by introducing a minimum hourly rate, meeting many demands of trade unionists. And recently, free Sundays, so that people in retail don't need to work on Sundays. The restriction on retail trade on Sundays will come into effect at the beginning of March and will allow more Poles to enjoy free time. Already last year, some 54% of adult Poles took a holiday of at least 2 days, more than ever before. What's more, it did not prevent Poles from increasing their bank savings. Right now, savings are at a record high and still growing. The only problem is that these savings are mostly located on interest-free accounts. Experts point out that treasury bonds may be an alternative to low-interest accounts and deposits. And for those with more knowledge of economy and willing to take risks, investment funds and equity. Damian Diaz, Wiadomości. The ABW, the Internal Security Agency, was the first institution capable of stopping the Amber Gold financial pyramid scheme. A former operations department head of the Gdańsk branch testified that the decision was made at directors level not to actively deal with the company owned by Marcin P. The officer said he followed orders. Damian Szmagliński. A year before the Amber Gold collapse, first alarming signals reached the Gdańsk ABW office that the conduct of Marcin P. may have been criminal. We had information that Marcin P.'s company may be a financial pyramid scheme. 9 months passed from the first ABW memo that Amber Gold was illegal until the procedure was started. Was doing nothing an order from your superiors? Doing nothing is an overstatement. So please tell me what was done before May 2012. Information was being processed as part of a procedure defined by internal ABW regulations. ABW remained passive. At what level was the decision not to handle the Amber Gold case made? This decision was made by the branch office and myself. The decision may be surprising, especially that Amber Gold had been in business for nearly 2 years. How many officers from the Gdańsk branch handled the Amber Gold case? One case officer handled the issue directly. Not much was done after the boss of Amber Gold opened his own airline. They learned about the fact that Michał Tusk, the son of the then Prime Minister, worked for OLT from the media. You were so effective that you didn't know that the Prime Minister's son worked at the company. We had no such information from operational sources. I read about it in a newspaper. The officer was also asked if the ABW was interested in the Prime Minister's son's cooperation with the man whose business was described by Michał Tusk as follows. Both my father and I knew this was rubbish. In the officer's opinion, the Gdańsk ABW was ordered not to tackle the case. I got a direct order that the prosecutor's office did not want any operational activities to be taken in this case, and I was told that if we did, we would be charged with obstructing the investigation. Over 19,000 people were affected by the Amber Gold fraud, losing almost 860 million zlotys. Damian Szmagliński, Wiadomości. Mateusz Kijowski is creating a new association, Freedom, Equality, Democracy. The former leader of the KOD, the Committee for Defense of Democracy, is planning to return to the world of politics, which he abandoned when the financial embezzlement he was involved in came to light. The new association begins with a money collection for the activists. The committee isn't in a good shape. Its current leader, Krzysztof Osiński, admitted that the committee is not able to mobilize people to join anti-government demonstrations. The committee activists are also highly critical of the opposition parties. Marcin Szybczak. 2 years ago, he was at the helm of the Committee for the Defense of Democracy. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Mateusz Kijowski. Among crowds, he was in his element. But he left the KOD because he lost the credibility with his members, after large sums of money had been transferred from KOD accounts to a company owned by Kijowski and his wife. They said it was a fee for IT services. The KOD Audit Committee established that the job was never done. It only confirms what the board members already knew. Today, despite the prosecutor's charges against him, Kijowski wants to return to the world of politics, rebranded. We have founded the Freedom, Equality, Democracy Association. So far, there's little in terms of the association's program. Kijowski returns asking for money again. Some call it political begging. They call it the Freedom Scholarship, which is a money collection announced by the association to help today's oppositionists who care for the common good and because of such activities have neglected their professional and private lives and need urgent support. The first scholarship holder was none other than Mateusz Kijowski, who publicly complained he was in dire financial straits a couple of months ago. He claimed that most of his income was being taken by the court for his alimony debts. Buying a train ticket, the suburban train to go to work and come back, is already a problem. Previously, over 30,000 zlotys was collected, which Kijowski was proud to announce he spent on Christmas. You can see that this is a beggar's lifestyle. Exploiting human naivety is something that this social group likes the most. It's difficult to defend this idea. It only creates the most unpleasant associations. The KOD, still associated with Kijowski, has been gradually losing importance. The public sentiment is different. They are tired and disillusioned. The association's current leader, Krzysztof Łoziński, admits. The KOD has worn out as an organization quite quickly. First, it didn't live up to everyone's expectations, which was to bring crowds to the streets. That's why the KOD is looking for a new path. It's exploring new organizational levels, which, in the opinion of its founders, may instill new life into the organization. The KOD activists are now focusing more and more on the parliamentary opposition, with which, not long ago, they tried to overthrow a democratically elected government together. This time the leader of the Civic Platform Party got scathed. Just let it go and apologize for everything, also for treating our civil movement as political competitors from the very beginning. This only testifies to your backwardness and political immaturity. It seems that shortly before the local government elections, the most radical part of the opposition has again fallen into political turbulence. Marcin Szybszak, Wiadomości. The fate of over 100 Nigerian girls kidnapped by Boko Haram terrorists is unknown. The attack took place in the northeast of the country last Monday. Most students managed to escape. It's already the second case in the region. 4 years ago, the Islamists kidnapped almost 300 students from a Chibok school. A few dozen are still held captive. Paweł Szot. Despair at the village of Dabci. Parents don't know what happened to their daughters. We have been here since Thursday and we are looking for our daughter. No one has told us where the pupils are. Soldiers are said to have freed 72 girls. We hope our daughter is one of them. The nightmare started last Monday when the place was attacked by Boko Haram terrorists. The militants broke into the school and started shooting. They wanted to scatter us. Together with my friends, we jumped over the fence. There were about 60 of us. Other girls ran through the gate, but many were trapped. The terrorists caught them. There were over 900 girls at the school. Most of them hid in the bush, but not all of them. So far, 105 girls have not been found. This is the number given by the parents. After a few hours' combat, the Nigerian Army and Air Force regained control over the village. The police and civil defense have strengthened their presence at schools to deter terrorists. All units are cooperating to free the kidnapped pupils as fast as possible. History repeats itself. In April 2014, the same terrorist group kidnapped almost 300 pupils from a school in Chibok. Some escaped, others were freed, but a few dozen girls are still kept by the jihadists. They were forced to convert to Islam. They also had to marry their oppressors. The kidnapping of the Chibok girls was almost 4 years ago. Have we learned nothing from our own mistakes? Can't we still understand the motivation of this sect? Dabci is located in northeastern Nigeria, near the border with Chad and Niger. It is now one of the world's most dangerous regions, with key importance also for Europe. It is a destination for ISIS and Al-Qaeda militants from Syria. The people trafficking routes to Europe also run there. Paweł Szot, Wiadomości. 2 terrorist attacks have been prevented in France. The terrorists planned to attack a sports facility and military forces, as the Minister of Internal Affairs informed. The prevented attacks were planned in the south and west of France. The suspects have been detained and remain in custody. It is known they are on the list of radicalized persons useful in the fight against terrorism. Minister Colombe also informed that 3 mosques were closed in France yesterday, 1 in the region of Paris and 2 in the southeast of the country. According to official data, 20 terrorist attacks were prevented in France last year. Minus 26 degrees was the temperature registered near Gołdap, the coldest so far this winter, but unfortunately that's not the end. In the last 24 hours alone, 2 people died of hypothermia. 8 people froze to death since Friday. The Government Center for Security and the IMGW issued warnings for the whole of the country except for the polskie voivodeship. At night it will be the coldest in the northeast of Poland and in the Carpathian valleys, down to minus 25 degrees. Municipal police have requested that the homeless move to shelters and are asking for information about such people, especially that in the coming days it will get even colder. The Arctic air is brought to Poland by the high pressure from Scandinavia. The IMGW is warning against heavy frost almost all around the country. In many places it will be exacerbated by wind. According to forecasts, the freeze will ease at the weekend. The ship is ready, so is the crew. Now all that's left is to wait, with 2 months left to the exceptional expedition. The Independence cruise on the Dar Młodzieży will be the adventure of a lifetime for 400 adventurers. Waldemar Stankiewicz reports about the participants' hopes and expectations. After a few weeks' refurbishment, Poland's most beautiful sailing ship, the Dar Młodzieży, is setting sail to the Baltic. It is just a test before the great expedition, going from Lisbon through Tenerife, Dakar, all the way to Cape Town. This is the stage that Piotrek Żyta will participate in. It's very important for him, not just because he can reach these foreign places. I'm asking myself how I'm going to handle all this with my A-level exams and the preparations for the cruise. I hope it will not collide with my studies. So that's during holidays, hopefully, and I hope I can make it, because it's 6 weeks on the high seas after all. The whole cruise will last 10 months, and its participants will change at each stage, for a total of 400 young people, selected in a contest from a few thousand volunteers. The crew will sail to 17 ports, heading for Panama, which will host the 34th World Youth Days next January. The first thing that made me happy was that I'll go to the World Youth Days, and the second thing, I will participate in this deed, which is the Independence Cruise celebrating 100th years of Poland's independence. It's not just about the integration with young people and the great world they will see, but it's also about spiritual enrichment. This is the development of the idea of the World Youth Days, which were hosted in Krakow 2 years ago. In all the countries we visit, we will also demonstrate our patriotism and will give the testimony of our faith. As Tomasz Maracewicz from the Dar Młodzieży says, being out there on the sea greatly stimulates spiritual needs. And if you can link this with the 100th anniversary of Poland's independence, it makes all of this even more beautiful, because it also develops patriotic attitudes. In this spirit, they will come aboard the Dar Młodzieży in May to be ambassadors of our country in this marine expedition. Waldemar Stankiewicz, Wiadomości. This will be a spring of hits in the Polish television. Starting today, you can watch our new programs, including new series, entertainment and current affairs shows. Tonight, in TVP2, right after M jak miłość, the new series, Za marzenia. 3 young friends start adult lives, which turn out not to be so easy. Anna Karczmarczyk, Piotr Nerlewski and Maja Bohosiewicz play the main roles. At 2 a.m. Polish time, the English-language version of Wiadomości will have its premiere in TVP Polonia. The premiere of a historical series about the last Piast dynasty king, Casimir the Great, every day at 6:25 p.m. And tomorrow at 2:25 p.m. in TVP1, a rerun of today's episode. At 3:50 p.m. in TVP2, Familiada, and on Tuesday at 9:35 p.m. Joanna Brodzik in the Pensjonat nad Rozlewiskiem series. This spring will bring another 13 episodes of the series based on the Małgorzata Kalicińska best-selling novel. Another novelty tonight in TVP1, right after sports, Alarm, covering the latest news from the Polish K2 expedition participants camp. Denis Urubko is already safe. After his sole attempt at climbing the K2, he returned to base camp and decided to leave the expedition. The situation is covered on site by Polish television reporter Oswald Pereira, reporting Maria Stepan. He's back after 2 days of walking alone. For me, the most important thing is that he's safe and sound. Denis Urubko did not take a radio with him. In the morning, the two teams above the camp said that he was coming home. It was about 5 p.m. when, looking from the base camp at K2, we saw Denis Urubko coming back at a very slow pace towards the base. He did not talk to anyone. He just chucked his bag near his tent, and all of this looked like in slow motion. Denis Urubko is one of the most experienced Himalaya climbers in the world. It was him with Adam Bielecki that saved Elizabeth Revoll from Nanga Parbat, and they established Camp 3, over 7,000 meters. They spent 2 nights there, and he walked up again, this time alone. I wanted to reach this summit in winter, but I didn't want to burden the head of the expedition with my decision. I thought that it would be good for the expedition if I can go up to the summit. And that would be good for everybody on the team. Rafał Fronia, who had to come back to Poland as a result of injury, is not surprised by the lone attempt, but he's disappointed. He tried to do that at all costs, including the cost of friendship, because with this particular deed, he basically erased his friendship with all the climbers on the trip. When Rafał Fronia's hand was broken by a falling stone, it was Urubko who offered help. He said, Rafał, you've got to walk down. The helicopter will not come to get you, and I will walk with you. So he would lose the opportunity to climb to the top, and he did something that nobody else did for me. It was just a declaration after all, because the helicopter did come, but if not for that, Denis would have accompanied me. I'm sure of that. Fronia returned to Poland. Urubko stayed at the K2 camp. Now he gave up. I think that the team are actually happy because of the atmosphere at the camp. It is probably better, and it's a shame he didn't just say, sorry guys, I was wrong, I shouldn't have gone on my own. We never heard that from him. He looked angry, I don't know who with. Urubko says, I'm mountain sick, so he'll probably come back to K2. Maria Stepan, Wiadomości.